Ever since I learned about the Electoral College back in, I'd say, middle school, I've always found it to be a very perplexing system. Conceptually, I get it. It's to give rural voters an equal voice in who gets to be the next president as those who live in high population areas. However, the execution of the Electoral College is not good. We are always down to the same handful of swing states that decide the fate of this country. Biden beat Trump by 7 million votes in 2020, and please shut the fuck up about your rigging nonsense, MAGA. I do not want to fucking hear it. Anyway, if this country didn't have the Electoral College in place, that would be a decisive victory, a blowout. But what did the election actually come down to? Under 100,000 votes in Pennsylvania, just under 200,000 votes in Michigan, and 20,000 votes in Wisconsin, and other swing states where the margins were razor thin. So yes, rural voters do get their voices heard, but I'd say their voices have disproportionately more sway than those who live in urban areas, where most of the people are. In 2016, Hillary won nearly 3 million more votes than Trump, but still lost because a handful of swing states didn't vote in her favor. And this is what I hate about the Electoral College. We have to bow to the whim of the voters in these select few states when they don't make up the majority of this country. And I'm not saying the voices and concerns of the voters who live in these states shouldn't matter and should be completely disregarded. I'm just saying these candidates should instead be placating to the entire electorate of this country. Because the Electoral College, as it is today, does not give every individual voter an equal say. If you're a Democrat living in a deep red state, your vote does not mean shit, and vice versa. It's only if you live in these select few swing states where your vote truly has the potential to move the needle. I already got my voting done 2 weeks ago. I voted by mail, and I voted for Harris, though I didn't vote for her on the Democratic Party line. I voted for her on the Working Families line, a local progressive party in my state, and I was able to do that because my state is one of the very few states left in this country that still has electoral fusion. Anyway, if it wasn't already obvious from what I just said, I live in New York, a deep blue state that will go to Harris with or without my vote. And in this year and 2020, the only national elections I've been able to vote in thus far, I felt a sense of frustration that my individual vote doesn't mean as much as an individual vote from Pennsylvania, or Michigan, or Wisconsin, or Nevada, etc. It shouldn't be that if you're a state with a high rural population, you have more of a say in who gets to be the next president. Because this doesn't solve the problem that some voices are disproportionately heard more than others, it only exacerbates it. If you're an individual voter in New York or California, your vote should be held in the same regard as an individual voter in Pennsylvania or any other battleground state. Because how is it fair if a candidate loses the popular vote but still wins the Electoral College, meaning a majority of the electorate didn't want that candidate because a handful of voters in a handful of states voted for that candidate, so therefore the whole fucking country now needs to put up with that candidate that they didn't vote for? Donald Trump lost the popular vote in 2016 and 2020. He actually got more votes as an incumbent in 2020 than he did as a candidate in 2016, but he still couldn't win the popular vote. That's why I have no doubt that he'll lose the popular vote again, but the only reason why there is still a real possibility we could get a second Trump term is because of the fucking Electoral College. All because a minority of this country voted a certain way. And I know what some people may say, but the United States is not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic. One, always bat an eye whenever someone says this, because 9 times out of 10 they are also the type to say certain groups of people shouldn't have a say in who gets elected into power anyway. 2, when a country has a system in place in which citizens can vote for who they would prefer to be in different positions of power in government, yes, I would prefer if every vote had an equal say, because otherwise what the fuck is the point in voting if your vote may mean less just because you live in a certain part of the country? Because at that point, for the national election, your vote is just a formality. It's like, yes, you can vote, but it's not like your vote will really mean anything ultimately. And if you and most of the electorate vote for one candidate, but if a minority of voters in a handful of states vote for another candidate, too fucking bad, that other candidate is going to be in office instead. If citizens can vote for who gets put in government, then the result the majority voted for should be respected. The Electoral College only creates favoritism for a select few states in this country because it is only in those select few states where each and every individual vote truly matters. And when we're in a country this goddamn big, that should not be the case at all. Stop having the minority make the decision for the majority. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.